Alright, so we're back in the shop, and we've got the spare differential that I have for the V. This is out of some kind of a all-wheel drive Cadillac that they did in 06 to 08 range maybe. And surprisingly, this is like the same differential they put in the Pontiac Solstice. So you can take a brief look at it and already determine what the problems are going to be. So we have the drive shaft spinning this way, and then you have all that torsional force on an aluminum housing with one offset point in the front and then two wide points in the back at this distance away. So it's really stressing this housing, and that's why these cars are known for tearing up these rear ends on a stock horsepower. Of course, the way I've seen the people drive these cars, I believe it, because they abuse these cars, in my opinion, the way they drive them and beat on them and everything. I really don't drive my vehicles that hard, contrary to popular belief, because I don't like walking home. So now that we've got almost 500 horsepower at the tires, we got this differential brace here that I'm not sure the gentleman that designed it or made it, but what he did is he made a plate for the front and then a plate for the bottom there, and then he tied in the sides and the front on the bolted surfaces. And then he made a bracket that bolts up to the subframe with two U-bolts on the top there, and then on the back side. And then this right here, you can kind of put some preload on it or adjust it or whatnot, but this distributes the load on the housing. So now if you look at it, as the drive shaft is rotating, it's able to pull down on this, and it has this attachment point. So it's holding everything nice and tight in the car, and theoretically it should hold until it doesn't. So I'm really curious to see how this thing does. I don't know. It's just a regular gentleman that does it, builds these things, and I know how that can be, because I used to make fiberglass bumpers, and selling them and shipping them and dealing with the public was not fun at all. And then people getting upset with you because you can't keep up with the demand because you're one person that has a job and family and trying to do your own projects. If you're like me, you have more than one project. So, you know, I don't know how many more runs this guy's gonna make or whatever, but I thought about ripping some templates off of it just to have in the file. But, you know, he did the hard work and effort to come up with it. So it's a pretty good design, pretty good configuration in my opinion. Simple. Now it was an absolute pain in the rear end, to put it on. I ended up having to take the back bolts out here and pull the front bolt out here to get the whole rear end to drop down to be able to get it on and get everything bolted in. But now we have it in, and surely the exhaust is going to clear, which I doubt it. It'd be great if it does, but I don't know if it's going to fit. The other thing we got going on is we got a set of the 100-pound injectors out of the 62 that's going to be going in here. So I don't know if I've showed this or not, but so this is the intake I got for the 62, for the little 5.3, and this is the Edelbrock Pro Flow, and they make them an LS6 style, which the only difference between the LS6 style and the LS2 style was the LS6 style was a 3-bolt throttle body, and then the LS2 had the 4-bolt throttle body. So the Edelbrock rails are like $235. I already had the Holley rails, and I'm not about to buy another set of rails because the Edelbrock rails, they only had a -6, and these are -8, and now we have 210 pound-per-hour injectors in here instead of the 100 pound because we hope to get serious with this one. And I just modified the Holley fuel rails. I just looked at the Edelbrock ones and drilled a hole through the rail. There's enough meat right here to be able to drill through there and have a mounting surface. And then took the tabs that actually came with these fuel rails and trimmed them up and drilled them to fit on there. And it's a nice rigid fit. So then the connectors for the 210s were different. So I bought the ICT that have the special crimp on, so I just cut and crimped them so you can't even tell. I didn't want to cut and splice. So we got those on there. And let's see, so then this is a 102 millimeter throttle body, and I had to get in there and get a little crazy porting it to make it big enough, because this was the same size inner opening as the LS2, so it was, for a 90 millimeter throttle body. And so we had to open that up. It did not come with the gaskets. Luckily I had a set of gaskets left over, and hopefully they'll fit. They want $85 for these things, the Edelbrock ones, so I hope these fit, or silicone it is. So the other nice thing about this intake is the operating range on it is 1,500 to 7,000. If you look at the high ram, it's 3,500 to 8,000, and I really don't want to give up that much bottom end, especially now that we've got the smaller engine here with the 5.3. I think I ran the numbers on it, and it's like 9:6 to 1 compression, and so I'll be able to put some bigger spring back in the wastegate. And let's see, so we got it all together. My engine stand looks like it's struggling, kind of scares me. But we got the heads on there, we got the head gaskets. I did ARP head bolts because I really just got tired of using the studs. This is the little PQY steam vent thing. I don't know if it would be worth it or not, but I kind of like the concept of having all four connected, just to kind of make sure you get rid of all the air bubbles and equalize the pressures in the heads and everything. This is a pan that I got off Amazon. Michael was telling me about it, and it's a copy of the 302-2, I think it is, or whichever one's like the shortest in the front, because I had an F-body pan on here, and if you recall, I tightened it and broke that tab off because the windage tray that I had didn't fit down in the pan properly, and I think it snapped when I tightened it. Well, I know it snapped when I tightened it, but I think the thing was holding it off. But this pan was only like $135, $150. If you look it up on Summit Holley brand, which is probably made in the same factory this one is, it's like $400, and this came with a pickup tube, gasket, and the bolts, pretty much everything you need. So we got that on there, and then I had it upside down and lost all concept of where I was and drilled the bung on the wrong side. So I can't believe I did that. That's just the kind of last few weeks I've been having. So I did put it on the correct side, and I got these are the ICT brackets for the motor plate. So the motor plate bolts to the water pump holes, and then to here, which I like having more surface area, and plus the distance strengthens it as well. On this side, since it's the iron block, we only have this hole here, unless we drilled and tapped that one. And then we got the 3 water pump there. So again, this is like a 330 cubic inch motor, and it's 9:6:1 compression. We'll have the ProFlow on it. Finally got FTI called me the other day, and they've had my converter for like a month. But you know, I get it. It sucks. I hate it, but that's life. That's just how it is sometimes. And it's just I've been busy with a lot of stuff here lately, and really want to get this thing back together. Really want to hear it run. Almost put the engine and all in, and then was just going to pull the transmission out once the converter came in, and then people just kind of pressured me into working on their stuff, and it's just been a mess. But anyway, the converter should be here tomorrow, and I'm trying to get the Cadillac finished up so I can get the 62 in here, and then try to get it back together, get it on the dyno, get everything squared away with it. So this thing, we're finishing up the diff brace, and then we're going to put 100-pound-per-hour injectors in it, and then we cleaned up the mass airflow and just put a 4-inch section of tube in there. And then I still got to drill and tap for the IAT sensor. I've already worked on the tune to accommodate for the new injector, so I'll probably just put the wideband on it and check over the VE table, make sure we're good on fueling, and because these are the same 100-pound injectors I've used on several of the turbo builds. So again, these are 42-pound flex injectors out of a Caprice PPV, and we were at 89% duty cycle at almost 500 tire. So I was pretty impressed again how well it did. There was a gentleman on the forum or group or Facebook or whatever it is, and he had one. He had a 408 in it, had a bigger cam than this, had a fast intake on it, and it made 502 at the tires, and it did make a bunch of torque. It made low 500 torque. I think it was like 538 torque or something. So 100 more foot-pounds of torque than this thing did. This car did 430 foot-pounds of torque, and he was like, I think it was like 538 or something. It was good torque. I was impressed with the torque, but you know, it's a 408 cubic inch motor. This is a 376 cubic inch motor. So me being me, I was like, well, you know, I'm very impressed with this thing. If it made 496 and your 408 only made 502, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I didn't mean it that way, but unfortunately, a lot of times I get taken the wrong way, and my wife said I was mean, and my buddy said that I was mean, and then the guy didn't respond to me. But I wasn't coming off as mean. I was really impressed that this thing made within 6 horsepower of what a 408 cubic inch motor did, I mean, I thought that was pretty impressive. And he had a bigger camshaft than we've got in this thing, and we're through 5 mufflers, and we have a stock intake manifold. So, that just makes me more impressed with this thing, because like I say, now that we've got the diff brace, we can probably really feel it and see how it does, because before I was just always kind of like there was an egg under the gas pedal, but because I was scared of breaking this little differential here. So we'll see how it does. I'll get the injectors in, and then I don't think it's going to make any more power. I mean, it'll just put us in a safer area in the upper RPMs. I don't know where it ran out of injector, but like I say, we were at 89%. So you really like to be around 80% duty cycle. So, at 89%, the injector's basically just open, and you really don't have control of it. So the 100-pound injectors will give us some headroom. Speaking of the fast intake, we tried to get one, but the guy was just a scammer. He claimed that he had one for $400, and then everything was real shady about it, and it turned out to be a scam. But I mean, what's wrong with people these days? I mean, like if I posted this for sale, I mean, I actually did try to sell it because it's a 391 gear ratio, and this car is a 373, and I really like how it's geared, so I don't want a lower gear ratio, but at least, the housing is good. You could swap the gears in it or whatnot, but, I mean, I've got this box here from one of my turbos, and, I put it in there, made sure it fit, measured it, weighed it and everything to ship it to some people, and then, you're nice and honest to them and tell them, this is how much it is, this is how much you're shipping, and then they don't want to pay you. And then, this one guy gets on there, just a total liar and scammer, and people throw money at him. I don't get it. I don't, nice guys finish last, I guess, but it just blows my mind how people just throw money at people that are just so full of it, and they don't deliver. So anyway, I'm going to get this thing back together and try not to drop this exhaust on my head again. And then I got to get the 62 in here because I think it's supposed to rain this weekend and get some weather. And then hopefully tomorrow we can get this thing in. You have no idea how much I've been dying to get this thing in the truck and hear it run and everything. So kind of excited about it. Really curious to see how it's going to do, because again, I've never done one for myself, this small of a cubic inch engine, and with these heads, I don't really know much about these cylinder heads. If they're they look like a really nice set of cylinder heads, and then this custom ground turbo cam and everything. So I probably never finished my thought about the converter, but I put all my specifications in the message I left in the box for them. They probably had a good laugh at me about it, but the guy called me, and I was just telling him about the truck, and I already had all the numbers, cam specs, and turbo size, and weight of the vehicle, gear ratios, tire height, all the usual information I have, and the the intake range. All that stuff works together and as a combination. And so the converter I had was 3200 stall, and after talking to him and everything, I think if it was more of a race truck, he would have gone 4,000 plus stall on it and everything, but I think he settled on about 3,800 RPM stall speed. So he did say that, like, if it was a 4,000 stall speed, he'd just kind of hang the converter on takeoff until you got speed. And I told him, I was like, I do not want that. I was like, I want to drive this thing to Daytona for the Turkey Rod Run this year. And, that's 6-7 hours from here. So I want to be able to drive this truck 7 hours on interstate and, not be, which I mean, I know at highway speed with a lockup style converter, you're locked up. So you're not feeling that 4,000 stall speed blowing through the converter and slipping and generating a bunch of heat. So, I mean, I get that, but just like taking off and normal street driving, I just did not want to deal with a big loose converter. So, and like I say, he agreed with me on that. So, like I say, I think he set it on a 3,800. So, anyway, we'll see how that goes. I'll finish up the Cadillac, then we'll get the 62 in here, and then try to hear this thing run this weekend.